Welcome back, everybody. In today's video, before I was rudely interrupted, I first have to explain what even is SuperHot. SuperHot at its basics is basically a first-person game where time moves when you move, and that's basically it for like the gameplay mechanic. Well, that's not all, but that's the main gimmick of like why you would play SuperHot. I'll be showing you my game now, showing the script, how it works, and what it looks like. But before that, guys, I think we may have a problem. Right here, this is what you'll see when you join the game. This is basically a scene I set up where the main menu will be here when you load in, where there'll be the title screen and the play button and a rules button. And I'll show you that by going in game. As you can see, we're on the scene that I described before as the main menu. As you can see, the game's called Mildly Warm. And there's the play button and the rules button. And this is actually pretty important because this lays out the rules and like what I was thinking while making this. I see the keybind, Q is to throw your gun. In SuperHot, you can pick up guns and shoot with it until you run out of ammo and throw the gun away. I'm gonna just say it right now. Throwing the gun away, I tried messing with it, but it was pretty buggy, so I just ended up resorting to just having it get instantly destroyed when you throw it. So you can't throw it at an enemy to like kill them, which I did have it before, but it was like extremely buggy. So I just decided to remove that and just make it instantly destroy the gun when you press the keybind after an animation. The rules, it's basically like SuperHot, but the only difference is you can have two items in your inventory. As you can see, there's a punch tool at the bottom. I didn't make it so when you pick up a gun, it like overrides it, like in SuperHot, where if you have a gun, you can't really punch, so you have to throw away the gun. I didn't add that, so basically you can have the punch tool and the gun in reserve, and you can use both at the same time, basically. But you can't pick up like two guns or more, so you can't stockpile them. But yeah. Also, actually, I would just say this real quick. There's only a gun. I didn't add any melee. It's just straight punching. And that basically describes the rules. And yeah. And also, if you press the play button, it plays a special animation and tweaks the title to red. Alright, this is the script for the main menu. It's not really much, but I'll quickly describe it. As you can see, when you click the button, if there's an input, the button's false. I made it so that it's false to where it can be able to tween the title and not start bugging out. And then after, it shoots a remote event, which is to play the animation that you saw. It tweens the title and the play button to red. And it fires a remote event to this script to where it plays the animation that you were just shown. And also sets the values for starting the game. You know, like starting the level and having the start value to start spawning enemies and also max enemies. And also I'll just say right now, this game's an infinite game where there's a wave-based system, but I'll get more into that when I reach that point. So yeah, that's basically it. Nothing too advanced. Now for this one's the rules button where it just makes the rule frame visible so you can read it. And this is the X button on the rule frame, which closes it. So that's basically it for this part. Now we're on to the main scene where the game starts, and you might be like, oh, there's nothing there. Well, we have to get out of here and find the main source of this problem. Oh, thank goodness it was you. I don't want to pay you any royalties. While we're trying to find the main source of this problem, we'll be heading back onto the main video. Before we get into the game, I have to first describe the script so you know what's going on. I'm going to quickly explain it because this is pretty long and this is not really a tutorial. I'll just give you a dumbed down version on how this works. If there's no enemies and the game started, then we go to the next wave and we set the max value of how many enemies can spawn to 1. And the wave to max enemy spawns is 1 to 1. So wave 10 will spawn 10 enemies. And then we loop through this to spawn the dudes. And there's a wait 1 second so they don't all instantly spawn at the same time. And then we get random waypoints and we spawn them, and that's where the ignore comes into play, where the enemy won't spawn on the same spawn point as an enemy before it. And then we clone the character. We also check if they spawn too much. If one of the enemies is close to that spawn point, it'll actually block this spawn so they don't start like grouping up and climbing on each other. And for every 3 enemies, there'll be a enemy that spawns with a gun that can shoot the player and give the player a gun if killed. These next scripts will all pertain to the player. As you can see, when they join, it sets their collision group. It also clears all the enemies in the game because, as you can see next, when the character dies, it'll reset everything and give them a death screen as well as ragdolling the character. So it resets back to the main menu. That's why we clear all the enemies. I know not the most efficient way, but since this is a one-player game, it's kind of a hacky solution that works. The camera here is for the beginning, and before the game started, it'll be locked to the title screen. But after it started, it'll move on to a custom camera or like the normal default camera to look around. The depth thing here, it just starts disabling some GUI and enabling GUI for you to be able to see what you need to see. This limits the character by disabling proximity prompts for the guns, so you can't like stack like multiple guns as I mentioned before. The movement, this is the bread and butter of the game where, you know, it detects if you're moving to be able to decide either that time's moving or not. This script is fired every 5 rounds to basically transition the map into another randomly generated map using the new map chooser, as you can see in one of my tabs that I'll be describing right now. Now we're on to the new map chooser. As you can see, when the event's fired, it clears everything in the map. It gets a random number. It gets the map from the maps folder. And I made it so maps can be like temporarily blacklisted so you don't get the same maps. But it's not really that great because there's not even that many maps to begin with. There's only like 3 for this to even really be able to function that well. As you can see, it clones them in. If it's this, I'll also call a folder which has the spawn points tied to that map. So as you can see, arena, get the arena spawn points, office, get the office spawn points, the movie, get the movie spawn points, and then pivot the character to the spawn location of that map. This is the enemy script. It checks to find for a player. It checks if a target is in view. This is the punch function. So when you're close to the enemy and they can see you, they'll punch at you. They have to see you so they don't just punch you through a wall and kill you. This is if an enemy has a gun, they'll shoot at you. If they die, they also ragdoll, and if they have a weapon, they'll drop that weapon. And also just play a destroyed sound effect, like glass breaking, which also happens to your player that I did mention. And this is the coroutine for if they have a gun, they wait a certain amount of time, they fire. If they fire, they have to wait so they can shoot. So this is the final script that's really that important. So this is the final main important script. As you see, I have some functions. When it's stopped, it gives the arguments to the function, which freezes the bullets, anchors them in place, or freezes the audio for it, setting it to 0 playback speed. And when time is moving, everything else just works normally, basically. For the animation one, I commented it out because I couldn't get it to work properly. So it only really freezes the bullets and the sound. Even though the sound one is still a bit buggy, it at least works compared to the animation, which completely freaks out the game and bugs it. And this was made like a few years back, so I really had no clue what to do. Maybe now I could figure out, but you know, it is what it is. But I'll get on to showing the models and playing the game just so you get a feel of what the game is. Okay, so these are the models. As you can see, That was in the intro. It's the red dude that you verse, like in SUPERHOT. And also I set your character model as the that black character in the intro as well, like in the game. Actually, this is the gun. It's literally made out of two parts. And then there's the bullet, which has a pre-made trail, just like in SUPERHOT when you fire a gun. The bullet has a trail effect to it. I'll get onto the maps. This is the arena. The enemies will spawn out of these four corners. There's some walls, and there's the spawn point in the middle. This is the movies. They spawn here, up here, and there's some seats here. And what's that? Was that my last video? I think you guys should check that out. Okay, so this is the office. There's hallways and rooms. I kind of got lazy with it. There's literally no decoration, but it's different from arena and the movie theater, so I just called it a day and just said this was good enough to ship out. Okay, let me just play a quick demo for y'all to see what it's like. Okay, we're on the movie map. As you can see, bottom right, there's a wave thing, and you punch them, and it attacks, and you can hear when you're standing still, they stop moving, and the audio also freezes up, and they ragdoll as well. I'm just playing. Oh, the gun dude will be out, and I'll see. The gun only has 3 bullets before you have to discard it. As you can see, he'll try to shoot at you. And it's pretty cool because the bullet like freezes up. I thought that was pretty cool. I don't know why I started on that. Alright. As you fire, also mention that when you use any like offensive moves, time will still move for a bit after you do it. There's not much for me to add to this. As you can see, if I press Q, it discards the gun. So yeah, that's really it. I'm gonna get on to my final thoughts. And you see it changes levels. I literally forgot to show that almost. And as if you die, right here, you get punched. It says you died, and you're dead. And you go back to the main menu. Now I'll actually go to my final thoughts. I almost forgot to show the level transitioning and me dying. There you are. Time to put an end to this madness.